I think I will not review the T-90 tank in this video, it should be the separate one, so let's concentrate on Challenger 2 and Leopard 2. The vulnerable place of the tank, I think this place for the driver and this wall in particular, I think it's not more than 50 millimeters of width and can be penetrated with the 30mm gun, but you can hardly aim it, especially then the turret at the same line with the base. Plus, without this extra armor plate, the front part of the base may be penetrated by any kind of the Russian tank with a proper shell. And this is the tuned version of the tank. They put everything on it, the new electronics, new aiming equipment. I think Israeli system that may intercept the shells, so it's superb, but we're not gonna get them for sure. So I think this version would be the best for Ukraine if we expect to use them in urban environment, in the cities. But if not, they will give us the standard version. So this is the standard version, and still I would like to see extra plate on the forward part, as I showed you before. About the side protection, if you're not gonna use them for urban environment but just in a forest, I think it's not really necessary. It will reduce the mobility of the tank. So the stock version with the frontal armor and some new electronics and thermal cameras is the best variant for Ukraine. Speaking about the losses, just one Challenger 2 was lost throughout the history, and it was the friendly fire from other Challenger 2 in Iraq war. And there was one case in Iraq, then this tank got 7 hits of the RPG-7 and still was able to return back on its own to the British base. One more minus, I think that this tank is just bigger compared to the Russian tanks, but still I think it got the better armor compared to Russians, especially if we speak about the turret. And also if we don't speak about the T-90M, which also got the heavy armored turret, but we're gonna speak later about the tank in other video. You can see there are so many options of the cameras and thermal cameras and other stuff, aiming. So this tank is very versatile. Alright, Leopard 2, we're gonna get them firstly from the Poland, and this is the Polish modification of that tank. Yes, it's German made, but Poland did some tuning and now it looks like very futuristic, but actually it is Leopard 2A4 standard tank. Just some extra armor on the turret, new cameras, new thermal cameras, and new aiming equipment, electronics. And this tank looks very modern, but actually, as I told you, it's Leopard 2A4 just with different armor plates on the turret. You see, before Germany got lots of the Leopard 2 tanks and they were on a long-term storage, but still you have to spend lots of the funds to maintain them, and they decided to sell them to someone and to Poland as well. So Poland got those tanks, you see they're on a factory somewhere there, and they did heavy duty maintenance on those tanks, modernizing them. You see how rusty those tanks were on a long-term storage, and really Poland did a great job restoring them. And this is the turret without extra armor plates, and if you look from inside you see how wide or how thick this armor is. I think it's more than 600 millimeters or something, really tough armor. And here you can see extra armor that could be opened like that, and you have the access for the maintenance of the gun, etc. And now it looks very different compared to the standard Leopard 2A4 version, but really it is. About the main gun, it's very reliable, RH-120. And as you understand, it has the same caliber as Challenger 2, 120mm, but it uses a little bit different shells. The most effective are DM53 and DM63. Both of them penetrates any kind of the Russian tank. About the engine, I think this one is the most reliable from all of the tanks. The name of it is MTU MB 873KA501. It has 1500 horsepower, so you can see very powerful, and it's been designed by Mercedes and Maybach. Suspension also the best in the world. It's very important that you want to ride and shoot at the same time. For example, on Russian T-90 and T-75, you cannot shoot precisely on a speeds more than 30 kilometers an hour. You basically will not hit the target. Here it is absolutely no problem. This is the base of the tank, and here you can see this hatch over here, and basically you may put different types of the armor in there. The armor may look like this, and it makes this tank very versatile. Depends on what armor you get and what do you need from this tank. But again, you have the option just for this front part. On this picture you can see the Leopard 2A0, the first type of that tank. You can see visually there is no difference, and they basically put the heavy armor on new models, and that is why they're getting heavier and heavier. But with that powerful engine, it's not the problem. Also, if you look at the Polish tanks, they have this armor on the side, and let me show you the other picture. You can see on the picture the same armor on the front part. And this is one of the first modifications of the Leopard 2A4. The next modification goes with this armor, which is more efficient compared to the first modification of A4 variant. So this is the first version of the A4 variant with explosives probably inside, or those could be just armor plates.